The room was dark, lit only by a single blue light on the table. He sat there staring at the strange contract. His name was Daniel, an ordinary man from Earth. Life had not been kind to him. His debts were heavy, his dreams were broken, and he wanted just one chance to escape. Everyone whispered about the off-world contracts. They said aliens were offering humans deals. Some men returned with gold technology or power, others never came back. But Daniel was desperate. Desperate men do not ask too many questions. The alien across the table had skin like polished stone, smooth and shining. Its eyes glowed faintly like tiny stars in a cave. The alien's voice was calm but sharp like a blade wrapped in silk. You sign, you receive reward. Very simple, the alien said. Daniel's heart beat fast. Reward. That was all he wanted. A new life. A way out. He did not read the fine lines of the contract. He did not care about the rules. He only saw the words, treasure, power, riches. With shaking hands, he signed his name. The alien smiled in a way that made Daniel's stomach twist. It pressed a claw against the table and the blue light grew brighter. Something formed in the air like smoke becoming solid. Daniel leaned forward, expecting a chest of gold, a weapon of power, maybe even a ship of his own. Instead, he saw a figure, small, thin, fragile. It stepped out of the smoke and stood before him. It looked almost human, but not quite. Its eyes were too large, shining silver. Its skin was pale, almost glowing. It bowed slowly like a servant greeting a master. This is it? Daniel asked, his voice breaking. The stone-skinned alien nodded once. Your servant, bound to you, for life. Daniel's mouth went dry. He wanted wealth, not some weak-looking creature. What am I supposed to do with this? He demanded. The servant lifted its head. Its voice was soft, but each word carried strange weight. I serve. But not as you think. You will learn. Daniel felt anger rise. He had been cheated, tricked. He wanted to shout, but the contract had already vanished, burned into the air. It was too late. The stone-skinned alien stood up. Its work was done. Enjoy your reward, it said with a cold smile. And then it was gone. The room was silent. Only Daniel and the strange servant remained. Daniel glared at the creature. What's your name? He asked harshly. The servant tilted its head as if confused by the question. Finally, it whispered, I have many names. You may call me what you wish. Daniel shook his head in disbelief. This is worthless. Absolutely worthless, but when he turned to leave, the servant spoke again. Its voice was different this time, low, heavy, and almost like a warning. You do not understand what I am. You do not understand the danger you are now in. Daniel froze. The words made his skin crawl. He spun around, but the servant's face was calm, almost blank as if it had never spoken. He stormed out into the cold night. The city was buzzing with neon lights and flying ships, but he saw none of it. His mind was filled with anger. He had signed away his chance at a better life, and for what? A thin, ghostly alien that looked like it would fall over in a strong wind? But still, he could not forget those words. The danger you are now in. That night, Daniel tried to sleep. The servant stood silently in the corner of his room, unmoving, watching. Its silver eyes glowed faintly in the dark. Daniel felt uneasy, but he told himself it was only a strange alien custom. Then, just before he closed his eyes, he saw something. The servant lifted its hand. Its skin glimmered and lines of light spread into the air like glowing threads. They twisted, they wove, they formed shapes Daniel did not understand. He sat up quickly, his heart racing. What are you doing? He demanded. The servant lowered its hand and the lights faded away. Protecting you, it said simply. Protecting me? From what? Daniel asked. The servant's eyes gleamed like silver fire. From those who want what you now carry. Daniel's blood ran cold. What I carry? I don't have anything. The servant looked at him for a long time, silent as if weighing his soul. Then it whispered, you will learn. But when you learn, it may already be too late. Daniel could not answer. He sat in silence, the weight of the alien's words crushing him. Somewhere deep inside, he felt it. The deal he thought would save him was not a gift. It was a trap, and the first shadow of danger was already moving closer. Daniel woke up the next morning with a heavy head. He had dreamed of falling stars, broken contracts, and voices whispering his name. When he opened his eyes, the alien servant was still standing in the corner, silent, watching with its silver eyes. Do you even sleep? Daniel asked, his voice rough from the night. The servant blinked slowly. Not as humans do. I rest in other ways, Daniel shook his head. He wanted to laugh, but he couldn't. Nothing about this was funny. He had signed away his life and received this, a pale, thin creature that spoke in riddles. Listen, Daniel said firmly. If you're going to stay with me, then you do what I say. Do you understand? I'm the master here. The servant tilted its head slightly as though it was studying him. Then it nodded. Yes, you may command. But I will not obey foolishness, Daniel frowned. What does that mean? You're supposed to follow orders. That's what a servant does. The alien's voice was calm, but there was a strange edge to it. I am bound to serve, yes. But not to stupidity. I will not waste my power for tricks or games. Daniel laughed bitterly. What power? You look like you can't even carry a bag of food. The servant said nothing. Its eyes glowed faintly like moons hidden behind clouds. Later that day, Daniel tried to use the alien for small tasks. He asked it to clean his room, but it stood there unmoving. He ordered it to fetch food, but it refused to leave. You're useless, Daniel muttered angrily. The servant finally spoke. I am not here for cleaning. I am here because you are marked. Do you not see it? See what? Daniel snapped. The mark of the contract, the alien whispered. It raised one hand and pointed at Daniel's chest. For a brief moment, Daniel felt a burning sensation beneath his skin. He pulled open his shirt and froze. There, just above his heart, was a faint glowing symbol. It pulsed softly like a heartbeat made of light. What is that? He asked in horror. The seal, the servant replied. It binds you to the deal, and it makes you visible to others. Dangerous others, Daniel's mouth went dry. Others, what others? The alien leaned closer, its silver eyes piercing. Hunters, enemies, those who feed on greed. They will come. Daniel stepped back, his chest rising and falling quickly. No, this can't be real. It's just a deal. Just a stupid piece of paper. The servant shook its head slowly. Not paper. Never paper. You signed your soul into their system. You are now a player in their game. That evening, Daniel sat on his bed, his mind racing. Outside, the city's neon lights flickered through the window. Ships flew overhead, humming like thunder. The servant stood by the door, silent, still watching. Daniel couldn't take it anymore. Why are you just standing there? He demanded. The alien's voice was low. Because the night is dangerous. Because eyes are already searching for you. Daniel's skin prickled. You're trying to scare me. I do not need to scare you, the servant said. Fear will come on its own. Later that night, Daniel pretended to sleep. He wanted to see what the alien would do when it thought he was resting. At first, the servant didn't move. It stood as still as a statue. Then slowly it raised its hands. Threads of glowing light appeared in the air again, weaving strange patterns. The patterns spread across the walls like a web of stars. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. He stayed still, watching through half-closed eyes. What are you doing? He whispered suddenly. The servant lowered its hands and the lights vanished. A shield, it said simply, a shield. From what? Daniel asked. The alien looked at him for a long moment. From what waits outside. Daniel stood and walked quickly to the window. He looked out into the street below. People walked, ships passed, lights flickered. Everything looked normal, but then he saw it. In the shadows of the street, a figure stood still, not moving, not blinking, just staring at his building. Daniel's heart pounded. Do you see that? He asked. Yes, the servant said. The first watcher. Only the beginning. Daniel turned, fear rising in his chest. And you can protect me from that? The alien nodded once. For now. But danger will grow. The contract was never meant to give you wealth. It was meant to place you in the middle of a war. Daniel sat down hard on the edge of the bed. His hands trembled. He had thought he was buying freedom. Instead, he had bought chains. The servant walked closer and placed one cold, pale hand on his shoulder. Its touch was strange, both heavy and light at the same time. Do not despair, the alien whispered. Riches rot, power fades, but survival, that is the true treasure. And with me you may survive. Daniel looked into those silver eyes. For the first time he felt something new. Not anger, not greed, but dread, because deep inside he finally understood. The alien was not lying. The real reward was survival, and survival would not come easy. The next day began with silence. Daniel sat in his small kitchen staring at the cup of black coffee in front of him. His hands shook slightly. He had not slept much. The servant had stood in the corner all night, silver eyes glowing, watching for danger. Daniel wanted to believe it was all nonsense. Marks on his chest. Hunters in the dark. Talk of survival. It sounded insane, but then he remembered the watcher outside his building, standing motionless like a shadow waiting to strike. He took a sip of the bitter drink and whispered to himself, "Maybe I'm already losing my mind." The servant's voice broke the silence. "Your mind is clear. The danger is real." Daniel looked up. "If it's real, why hasn't anything happened yet?" The alien tilted its head. "Patience. Predators do not rush. They watch first, then they strike." Daniel's stomach twisted. He didn't like how calm the servant sounded. That evening, Daniel decided to step outside. He couldn't hide forever in his apartment. The city lights called to him, noisy and alive. He wanted to feel normal again, even for a few minutes. The servant followed quietly, its pale figure blending strangely with the crowd. People gave it nervous glances, but no one dared to speak. They walked through the market streets filled with floating signs, glowing stalls, and strange alien goods. Daniel almost forgot his fear. For a moment he thought maybe the servant's warnings were just empty words, but then he heard it. Footsteps. Heavy. Close. Daniel turned and froze. A man was standing at the end of the street. His face was familiar. "Too familiar, Carter," Daniel whispered. Carter had once been his rival on Earth, a greedy man always searching for shortcuts. Daniel remembered seeing him at the contract hall weeks ago. Carter had signed his deal too. But unlike Daniel, Carter had gotten lucky. He had returned with riches, alien weapons, and soldiers who obeyed his every word. Now Carter's eyes burned with arrogance, and in his hand he carried a weapon that glowed like fire. Well, Carter said, his voice sharp with mockery. "Look at you, Daniel. Still alive. And what did they give you? A skinny little freak." Pathetic, Daniel's heart pounded. He stepped back, but Carter raised the weapon. "Sorry, old friend," Carter sneered. "There's no room for losers in this game. Contracts are survival of the fittest, and I can't let you crawl around in my way." The weapon charged with a humming sound, glowing brighter. Daniel's breath caught. "Do something," he shouted at the servant. The alien stepped forward slowly, almost too calmly. Its silver eyes locked on Carter. Carter laughed. "What's it going to do? Sing me to death?" He pulled the trigger. A blast of energy shot forward, bright and violent. Daniel ducked, covering his head. But the blast never touched him. The servant had raised its hand. A shimmering shield of light unfolded from its body, stopping the energy in midair. The blast bent, twisted, and then dissolved into sparks. Carter's smile vanished. His eyes widened in shock. What is that thing?" he stammered. The servant's voice was calm, but sharp like a blade. "Your greed blinds you. Go back while you still can," Carter growled. "Never," he raised his weapon again. "I'll kill you both and take whatever power you're hiding." The servant moved faster than Daniel thought possible. In a blink, it crossed the space between them. Its pale hand touched Carter's weapon, and the glowing metal cracked like glass. Sparks burst out, and the weapon fell in pieces to the ground. Carter stumbled back, fear flashing across his face. "This isn't over," he shouted. His soldiers, waiting in the shadows, rushed forward and dragged him away. In moments, they were gone into the dark streets. Daniel stood frozen, his chest rising and falling quickly. His ears rang from the shock. He turned to the servant, his voice shaking. What was that? How did you do that?" The alien's silver eyes glowed brighter. "Protection. That is my purpose. You will face many like him. Greed has many faces, and each one hungrier than the last." Daniel swallowed hard. He could still see Carter's eyes burning with hatred. "He'll come back," Daniel whispered. "I know him. He won't stop." The servant nodded. "Yes, and next time he will not come alone. He will bring greater weapons, greater danger. You must be ready." Daniel felt a cold sweat on his skin. "Ready? I'm not ready for any of this. I just wanted money. I just wanted a chance." The servant stepped closer, its presence both strange and comforting. "Then you must change what you want, or you will not live long enough to see tomorrow." That night, back in his apartment, Daniel couldn't stop shaking. The image of Carter aiming that weapon replayed again and again in his mind. He should have died. If not for the servant, he would already be a pile of ash. As he sat in silence, the alien whispered, "Now you begin to see. Riches bring death. Greed invites hunters, but you may yet survive if you learn." Daniel looked at the servant, his fear slowly twisting into something else. Not trust, not yet. But maybe, a fragile hope. And somewhere deep in his chest, the glowing seal pulsed stronger, as if it knew the first battle had been fought. The war had only begun. The city was quiet, but Daniel could not feel peace. Carter's attack still burned in his mind. He had almost died. Only the alien servant had saved him, stopping a weapon no human could resist. Daniel sat in the dim light of his apartment, staring at the pale figure that stood by the window. The servant looked calm, almost too calm, as if danger meant nothing to it. Finally, Daniel broke the silence. "You need to tell me the truth. What are you? Why are you bound to me?" The servant turned its silver eyes toward him. For a long moment it said nothing. Then its voice came, soft but heavy with meaning. "I am not what you think. I am not a servant. I am a guardian. Long ago I swore an oath, and that oath now ties me to you." Daniel frowned. "Guardian? Guardian of what? I didn't ask for that. I just wanted riches. That's all." The alien stepped closer. "Riches? Gold power? That is what fools ask for. That is what Carter asked for. And look at him now, blinded, consumed." Daniel's jaw tightened. He wanted to argue, but deep down he knew it was true. Carter's greed had turned him into something dangerous. The servant raised its hand. With a small gesture, lines of light appeared in the air again, weaving into patterns. Daniel leaned forward, trying to understand. The patterns looked like maps of stars, systems, and hidden paths. "These are the places I have walked," the servant said. "Worlds you cannot imagine. Wars fought in shadows, and always humans making the same mistake." Daniel's eyes widened. "Humans, you mean? Others have signed these contracts before me?" The servant nodded slowly. "Many, too many. The contracts are traps, tests, weapons. The aliens offer treasure, but what they truly give is chains. They are choosing who will live and who will die in the games of the galaxy." Daniel felt his stomach twist. "So, but I'm just part of a game?" The servant's silver gaze sharpened. "No, you are more than that if you learn. Most humans waste their gift and perish. But a few, rise above. That is why I am here, to give you a chance." Daniel's heart pounded. He wanted to laugh, to reject it all, but the glowing mark on his chest reminded him this was real. He rubbed the spot over his heart, feeling the faint heat of the seal. "What happens if I fail?" he asked quietly. The servant's voice dropped to a whisper. "Then your body dies and your soul is swallowed by the system. You become nothing, another lost name in the contracts." Daniel shivered. "And if I succeed?" The alien's expression shifted, something between sadness and pride. "Then you will not only survive, you will stand among those who shape the future. Humanity has few such names, but the galaxy remembers them." That night, the servant finally sat beside him for the first time. Daniel studied it closely. Up close, its skin seemed almost translucent, as if light flowed beneath it. Its hands were long and delicate, but he remembered the power in them, the way it had crushed Carter's weapon like glass. "Why me?" Daniel asked. "Why would they give me a guardian? I'm no leader. I'm nothing." The servant looked at him for a long moment. "Perhaps that is why. Leaders drunk on power cannot be trusted. The weak, the desperate, the hopeless, they are the ones who may learn true strength." Daniel let out a bitter laugh. "So I'm some kind of experiment?" The servant did not answer directly. Instead it said, "The galaxy watches. Every step you take now echoes far beyond Earth. The hunters know your name. The factions know your mark, and soon you will have to choose a side." Daniel leaned back overwhelmed. "Factions, hunters? What are you talking about?" The alien's silver eyes darkened like a storm covering the moon. "There is a war, Daniel. Not of planets, but of contracts. Each deal shapes the balance. Some aliens want humans to rise. Others want humans to fall. And you—" It paused. "You are now a piece in that war." A sudden noise outside made Daniel jump. He ran to the window and saw shadows moving quickly on the street. "Is it Carter again?" he whispered. The servant shook its head. "Not yet. These are scouts watching, waiting." Daniel felt a chill down his spine. "So it never ends, does it?" "I'll always be hunted," the alien's voice softened, "until you are strong enough to turn from prey into predator." Daniel turned to face it. "And how do I do that?" The servant finally smiled, a small, strange smile. "By listening. By learning. by letting go of greed. Riches would have blinded you, but survival will sharpen you, and when the time comes you will see the true power of the contract. Daniel stared at it, torn between fear and anger, between doubt and hope. Deep down, though, he knew one thing. There was no going back. The deal was done. The path had already begun, and in the silence of the night the silver-eyed servant whispered a final truth. You think you chose this contract. But it was never you who chose. It was the contract that chose you. Daniel's blood ran cold, and somewhere outside, unseen in the shadows, the hunters waited for their chance to strike. Days passed, but Daniel no longer felt like a normal man. He could not forget Carter's attack, or the servant's words about hunters and factions. Each night, when the city lights flickered outside his window, he felt eyes watching him from the shadows. The servant never left his side. It moved silently, always alert, as if danger was only a breath away. One evening, Daniel finally asked, "If I'm in the middle of this war, then I need to know. Teach me. Show me how to survive." The servant's silver eyes glowed faintly. "Good. At last you are ready to listen." The training began. At first, Daniel thought it would be about weapons or fighting, but the servant shook its head. Weapons are tools. Anyone can hold a blade or fire a gun, but survival comes from the mind, from seeing what others cannot. It taught him to read patterns in light, signals hidden in the city's glowing towers. It showed him how to listen to the silence, to notice when footsteps were wrong, when a shadow moved against the wind. Daniel struggled. His human eyes missed details. His human ears caught too much noise. But the servant was patient. "Do not look harder," it said. "Look simpler. Trust what does not fit. That is where truth hides." One night the servant took him to the rooftops. The stars burned above, endless and cold. The alien pointed upward, tracing glowing lines in the sky with its finger. "Each star," it said, "is a battlefield. Contracts have spread across worlds. Some humans rise, others fall. You are not the first. You will not be the last. But every choice adds weight to the war." Daniel stared at the stars, feeling small. Why humans? Why us? The servant's voice was quiet, almost sad. "Because your kind hungers. Because your kind dreams. The galaxy fears you, yet it also needs you. That is why they test you. Riches, power, slaves, illusions to see who breaks and who endures." Daniel clenched his fists. "And Carter? He already chose, didn't he?" The alien nodded. "Yes, he sold himself to greed. And now he is a weapon for those who want humanity chained." The next day, Daniel saw proof of the war. They were walking through the market again when he noticed a man arguing with a merchant. The man's shirt was torn, and on his chest burned a glowing seal, just like Daniel's. Before Daniel could approach, the man collapsed. His seal flickered, then vanished. His body turned pale and cold. The crowd scattered in fear. Daniel stared, horrified. What happened to him? The servant's face darkened. His contract was broken. He failed his test. His soul was claimed. Daniel's stomach turned. This wasn't just survival. It was a game of life and death, and he was trapped inside it. That night, the servant revealed more. "There are factions in this war," it explained. "Some aliens believe in guiding humanity, giving them guardians like me. Others believe humans are dangerous, that you must be destroyed before you grow too strong. And then there are the merchants, the ones who make the contracts. They do not care who wins. They only care that the game never ends." Daniel shook his head in disbelief. "So we're just toys to them? Pieces on a board?" The servant looked at him steadily. "Pieces, yes, but some pieces rise to become players. That is the path you must walk." Daniel laughed bitterly. "Me, a player? I can barely survive one attack." The alien leaned close, its silver eyes shining. "And yet you did survive. That is more than most. Do not underestimate yourself." Weeks passed. Daniel's body grew stronger, his mind sharper. The servant taught him to move quietly, to think ahead, to read his enemies before they acted. But danger grew as well. Strange signals filled the night sky, lights that were not ships moving faster than human eyes could follow. Rumors spread of hunters crossing into the city, searching for marked humans. One evening, the servant stopped suddenly in the street. Its eyes narrowed. "They are close," Daniel's heart raced. "Who?" "The ones who hunt for the contracts," the servant whispered. "They have found your trail." That night, Daniel could not rest. He sat by the window, staring at the glowing mark on his chest. The seal pulsed with light, faster now, almost like a warning. Finally, he asked, "Why me? Why did the contract choose me?" The servant placed a pale hand on the glass, looking out at the city lights. "Because you were desperate. Desperation is the doorway, but also because you have something Carter does not." Daniel turned sharply. "And what's that?" The alien looked at him with strange, unreadable eyes. "The ability to change, to see beyond greed. That is why you were given me. Not riches, not weapons, me." Daniel fell silent. For the first time he wondered if this curse might also be a chance. But before he could answer, the servant spoke again, its voice low and urgent. "Do not forget, Daniel. This war is not waiting for you to be ready. The factions are moving. The hunters are coming, and soon you will have to fight not only for yourself, but for all of humanity." Daniel's blood ran cold. He looked out at the stars again, feeling the weight of the galaxy pressing down on him. The hidden war was no longer hidden. It was coming for him. The city was restless. Strange ships had appeared in the skies, dark and silent, watching. People whispered of hunters walking among the streets, their faces hidden, their eyes too sharp to be human. Daniel felt the weight of it every day. The seal on his chest burned more often now, pulsing like a heartbeat of fire. Each time the servant told him the same thing. They are getting closer. One night, Daniel was returning to his apartment when he saw movement at the end of the alley. Shadows shifted, and from the dark stepped a figure he knew too well. Carter. His old rival's eyes gleamed with triumph. He was dressed in alien armor, sleek and cruel, glowing faintly at the edges. Behind him walked two tall creatures, their bodies covered in metallic plates, their faces hidden behind sharp masks. Daniel froze. His blood turned cold. Carter smiled. Well, Daniel, still alive, still hiding behind your pale little pet." He nodded at the servant who stood silently at Daniel's side. "What do you want?" Daniel asked, his voice tight. Carter laughed, the sound echoing off the walls. "What I've always wanted. To win, to take everything, and now I finally can." Daniel frowned. "You sold yourself to them, didn't you? You're nothing but their puppet." Carter's grin widened. "Better a puppet with power than a fool with nothing." He raised his hand, and his alien guards stepped forward. Their weapons glowed, humming with deadly energy. The servant shifted, placing itself between Daniel and the threat. Its silver eyes narrowed. "Carter, you do not understand what you serve." "Oh, I understand perfectly," Carter sneered. "These beings gave me what I deserved. Power, strength, riches. Not some fragile shadow chained to a worthless man." He spat the last words like poison. The guards moved faster than Daniel could see. Their weapons slashed through the air, beams of red energy tearing into the street. Daniel dove aside, his ears ringing from the blast. The servant leapt forward, its hands glowing with pale light. A shield bloomed, stopping the beams in midair, but the strain showed. For the first time, Daniel saw its face tighten as though the effort cost more than it wanted to admit. "Daniel," the servant called. "You must move." Daniel scrambled behind cover, his chest burning with fear. He could hear Carter laughing above the noise of battle. "Look at you. Hiding! Always weak, always afraid." Carter's voice cut like a knife. "You don't deserve the contract. You don't deserve survival." The servant struck back, unleashing a wave of silver energy. The guards staggered, their armor cracking. But Carter raised his hand, and a weapon formed in his palm. Alien, sharp, alive. He pointed it at Daniel. "Tonight, I end you." The servant threw itself between them. The weapon fired, and the beam struck its chest. For the first time, Daniel heard the alien cry out in pain. "No," Daniel shouted. He rushed forward without thinking, grabbing a piece of metal from the ground and swinging it wildly. The strike hit Carter's arm, knocking the weapon aside for a moment. Carter growled, his eyes blazing with hate. "You think you can fight me?" Carter hissed. "You're nothing. You were always nothing." Daniel's chest burned, the seal glowing brighter than ever before. He felt energy rising, a strange fire flowing through his body. For the first time, he didn't feel like prey. He felt different. The servant, wounded but still standing, turned its silver eyes on him. "Now, Daniel, lead, not follow, lead." Daniel clenched his fists. "I'm not running anymore." The battle raged. Carter's guards attacked again, their weapons slashing through the air. But Daniel moved faster now, his body responding to the strange fire of the seal. He dodged, struck, and forced them back. Carter's face twisted in rage. "No, you don't get to rise. I was chosen. I was the one meant to win. He lunged at Daniel, weapon raised. Their clash shook the alley, sparks flying. Daniel held his ground, pushing back with strength he didn't know he had. The servant joined him, its light merging with the glow of Daniel's seal. Together, man and alien forced Carter to retreat. His guards fell, broken, and Carter stumbled back, his weapons sparking. Breathing hard, Carter glared at Daniel. This isn't over. The factions already chose me. I have allies you can't imagine. Next time you won't survive. With a final snarl, he disappeared into the shadows, his broken guards dragging themselves after him. Silence returned, heavy and cold. Daniel dropped to his knees, exhausted. His chest still glowed, the fire of the seal fading slowly. He looked at the servant, who knelt beside him, wounded but steady. You protected me again, Daniel whispered. The servant shook its head. No, tonight you protected yourself. That is the beginning. Daniel looked down, his fists still trembling. He had fought. He had survived. But the weight of Carter's words haunted him. The factions. The allies. The war. If Carter was only the beginning, then far worse was yet to come. The servant's silver eyes softened, though pain shadowed them. Now you understand, Daniel. This is not about wealth, not about greed. It is about choices. Betrayal will come again, and when it does, you must be ready, not just for yourself, but for all who may follow. Daniel stared into the night sky, his chest burning with the seal's faint glow. For the first time he felt not just fear, but resolve. Carter had betrayed more than just him. He had betrayed humanity itself, and Daniel swore he would never let that betrayal be the last word. The city was no longer safe. After Carter's attack, Daniel knew every street, every shadow could hold danger. The factions were watching. The hunters were moving. And Carter would return with greater strength. Daniel sat in his apartment, his chest glowing faintly with the seal's strange light. The servant sat across from him, wounded but steady, its silver eyes calm despite the battles it had endured. You have reached the edge, the servant said softly. Soon you will be forced to choose. Not for wealth, not even for survival, but for what kind of man you will be. Daniel rubbed his forehead. What if I'm not ready? What if I fail? The servant leaned closer. Then you will die, and your name will vanish like all the others. But if you rise, you will not stand alone. Humanity itself will rise with you. Daniel's chest tightened.
He didn't want to be a hero.
He didn't ask for this war, but he could no longer deny it. The contract had pulled him into something far larger than himself. That night the choice came. Daniel woke to the sound of explosions. The city shook. Windows shattered. The sky burned with fire as alien ships descended like vultures. Sirens screamed. People ran through the streets in terror. The servant rose at once, silver eyes blazing. It begins. Daniel stumbled to the window and saw them, Carter's forces. Alien warriors marched in lines, armored and armed with weapons that glowed like molten stars. At their front stood Carter, his armor brighter, his weapon alive with fury. He pointed directly at Daniel's building. His voice thundered through hidden speakers, echoing across the city. Daniel, come out, face me.
Tonight we finish this.
The servant placed a hand on Daniel's shoulder. This is your test. You cannot hide. You cannot run. Daniel's heart raced. His fear screamed at him to escape, to flee, to disappear. But then he remembered Carter's words. Better a puppet with power than a fool with nothing. He remembered the man in the market, his contract seal fading as his life drained away. And he remembered the servant's whisper. Riches rot. Power fades. But survival, that is the true treasure. Daniel stood tall. Then we fight. The battle began. Carter's warriors stormed the building, beams of energy tearing through walls. Daniel and the servant fought side by side, their lights weaving together, silver and human fire. Each strike Daniel made felt guided by something greater, as if the seal itself was lending him strength. But Carter was stronger. His weapon cut through the air with brutal power. He laughed as he struck, his voice filled with rage and hunger. You can't stop me, Daniel. The factions have chosen. Humanity belongs to me. Daniel blocked a blow, the force nearly breaking his arm. He staggered but stood firm. No, Carter. You belong to them. That's the difference. The servant unleashed a wave of energy scattering the guards, but it stumbled, its wounds bleeding light. Daniel saw fear flicker in its silver eyes, not for itself but for him. "Daniel," the servant whispered, "you must choose now. Serve greed or protect life," Carter charged. Their weapons clashed, sparks lighting the dark sky. Daniel felt his strength slipping. Carter was faster, stronger, backed by alien power. Then the seal on Daniel's chest flared, brighter than ever before. Heat rushed through his body. He saw not just Carter, but everything. Patterns of movement, lines of energy, the weakness in Carter's strike. For the first time, Daniel was not prey. He was predator. With a roar, he struck, disarming Carter and driving him back. Carter stumbled, his weapon falling, his armor cracking. Daniel stood over him, chest burning with fire. Carter's eyes widened with fear. "Do it," Carter spat. "Kill me, take your place. Show them you're strong." Daniel raised his weapon, but stopped. His heart pounded, his hand shaking. The servant's voice echoed in his mind. "Greed blinds. Choices define." Daniel lowered the weapon. "No, Carter. I'm not like you. I won't be their puppet. I fight for survival. For humanity. Not for greed." Carter screamed in rage, but before he could rise, his seal flickered. The glow on his chest darkened, fading into nothing. His body collapsed, lifeless, the contract broken. Silence fell. The enemy warriors froze. Without their master, they turned and vanished into the night, retreating like shadows. Daniel stood there, chest glowing bright, breath heavy. The servant stepped beside him, weak but proud. "You chose well," it whispered. "Now the factions know. Humanity is not yet lost." Daniel looked at the stars, still burning above the ruined city. He knew this was not the end. Carter was gone, but the war was only beginning. Contracts were still being signed. Hunters were still watching, and somewhere out there others like him were making their choices. Daniel clenched his fists. "Then let them come. I'm ready." The servant's silver eyes gleamed. "Not ready, becoming, and that is enough." Together, man and alien stood in the ruins, staring at the night sky. The contract had been a curse, but now Daniel saw it clearly. It was also a chance not just to survive, but to fight for the future of humanity.